Hi YouTube! Welcome back to my channel. My name's Emma and I create art videos. Today's video is me playing with some gouache. So I haven't actually used gouache before, so this is the first time that I've ever used it, knowing that it was gouache. Funny story, when I run out of acrylic paints, I had this little tiny set of gouache paints and I was like, what is this? I'm sure it's pretty similar to acrylic paint. So I'd sort of just substitute it in for like whites or blacks or whatever color I was missing if I had run out of acrylic paint at the time. So the colors that I have are very limited and I don't have a lot of them, so this painting has a very limited color palette, which it worked out fine, you'll see shortly, but that's why I don't have many of them. And I thought, I've been watching a lot of tutorials and different artists that I love creating gouache paintings, and I wanted to create some gouache as well and see if I can get into it and if it's a medium that works well with me. So that's what I am doing in this video. It's the first one. I did it around Easter actually. It was a present for my mum for Easter and I loved the way that this turned out. So keep watching and you'll see what I'm talking about.
So for this painting, I have decided to use a black piece of paper, which is something that I haven't really done before, and discovered that I absolutely love it. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing that more in the future. The grey lead pencil actually showed up really well on the paper, so I was able to do an outline. You probably can't see it very well at this stage, but once I change the camera angle, you'll be able to see the light reflecting off it a little bit better. And then I just get all of the wash paints out that I plan on using for this painting and strap down my piece of paper like usual so it doesn't move around. And I get started. You can see me struggle with this paint. I've had these ones for quite a while. They're just like from the $2 shop and I don't even know when I got them. I'm pretty sure it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And that cap would just not come off, and then there was like a hole in the side of the aluminium wrapping or metal wrapping, whatever it is, and so I just squeezed out whatever I could so that I could continue using it. I then thought it'd be a really good idea to test what the paints actually look like on the paper so that I didn't start putting it down on my amazing sketch and ruin the entire thing. So I actually was surprised at how vibrant they turned out on the page. I was actually really impressed, and as I said, I haven't used gouache before, so it was a little bit interesting to use. But once I had decided on everything that I was going to put into this painting, I then changed my mind and added some metallic acrylic paint, which actually showed up on the paper really well. So I was really pleased that I decided to add that in there. And then I wanted to just make sure that I had the right colors. The image on the screen at the moment is my reference picture that I was using. So I did change it up a bit, but I just used the general concept to help me along with this piece because it was like the first time that I have used gouache. I wanted to make sure that I was confident in what I was painting and that I knew that it was going to look okay. I would definitely recommend doing that, especially if you're trying a new medium, because you've got that on your mind that you don't know how the painting's going to turn out or the drawing's going to turn out because you've never used this medium before, and you don't want the added stress, I suppose, of not knowing what the picture is going to turn out like either. So by having a really strong picture that you're confident in, I find that that really helps when you're trying new mediums. Even if you're doing like fan art or something like that, it can definitely help. So I did notice that the gouache was a little bit like it's definitely opaque, but the black was showing through a little bit, so I just didn't add as much water for the next layer because, as I said a couple times now, I haven't used gouache before, so I wasn't too sure how much water to add to the paint. I know that it's like a mixture between acrylic and watercolor, that's what a lot of people say, and yeah, so I don't know, I think I was trying very hard to use it more like watercolor, which wasn't necessarily the best way to go about it. I definitely plan on watching some more tutorials and learning a little bit more about the medium before I use it a little bit more. But overall, I actually had a lot of fun doing this, and I took my time doing it, which always helps. And you always tend to enjoy the painting a little bit more as well. So these little plant thingies that I'm drawing at the moment, like leaf branches, I'm not too sure. I haven't copied them off an exact plant or anything, so I didn't look them up or what they're called or anything like that. But I have started using them a lot more in a lot of my different paintings to sort of just give it an accent or something interesting to look at, or to frame my picture. And I really enjoy the way that that turns out. So you'll probably be seeing a lot more from that from me, with these like branchy leafy drawing things on them. So the paint I'm using at the moment is the metallic paint. It's actually Dulux. If you haven't heard me say it in the past videos, I get a lot of my paints from like Bunnings or a hardware store, and I just get sample pots because it's actually a lot of paint. And I don't know if it's actually like acrylic paint, it's probably not, but it's water-based paint, and I find that it works just as well as acrylic. It may not be as thick, but I don't necessarily like to work with really thick paint anyway. And if I want to put thickener in it, I can, because it would work exactly the same as getting thicker paint. But yeah, there's a good tip if you know the colors that you want to use and use a lot of them. Like I have like a really dark charcoal black sort of color and a really nice cream white color that I have sample pots for, and I use that instead of tubes because it works out to be cheaper. And I don't know what the like light fast situations are, or like archival properties. I have absolutely no idea. But for my purposes, it works really well. If I was going to do commissions or anything like that, I would probably use my professional paints rather than my sample pots, but it's personal preference, I suppose. So now I'm just adding a few of the final details. I put a whole heap of little metallic splodges in the background to make it really pop, and I also flicked some of the paint, the pink and the blue, over the background as well, just covering up the inside of the bunny a bit more so it's a little bit more opaque. And then I go in with, I think it's a permanent marker, to try and give it just a little bit more detail. I found that my Sharpies don't really like going over gouache. They don't really like going over anything except for watercolor, actually. So I need to find a different pen, or maybe just not a fine tip, maybe like a brush nib would work a lot better. But I found that, like, because the paint is so chalky, it kept sort of like getting stuck and not coming out of the pen very well. So there was a couple, it could have also been that like they were running out of ink as well, but I got a little bit of the way through it and then changed pens again and again. But on a painting that I've done recently, I actually used the Faber-Castell India ink markers, which are waterproof, and they worked really well. I was using the brush marker, so I don't know whether it was the fact that it was a brush marker that was making the difference, or whether it was actually like the type of marker. So I guess I'll play around with that a little bit more in the future as well, to try and figure out which one works better for what, and if there's a better way of doing my line art. Because as much as I love to do my line art first, with this sort of painting, you can't necessarily do it first because the paint is so opaque, so you can't see the line art through it. But I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. If you have any tips for me or anything you think that I should try that works really well for you, please let me know in the comments below, because I always love hearing your suggestions and tips. And I usually do try anything that you post below as well, just so you're aware. Originally I was thinking of making this into a card, but I'm glad that I decided not to do that and just do it as a little mini print, because I feel like, I don't know, if it was me, I'd be more likely to keep a print rather than keep a card. Like, I feel like, you know, you can keep 1,001 cards, and most of the time I do, but I feel like a print, at least you could display it, I suppose. I guess you could also cut like the back off a card and put that in a frame as well. Are you a sentimental card keeper, or do you throw out all of your cards and just keep them as a memory? I'd be interested to know if I'm the only one out there that keeps all of my birthday cards and special event cards, because I'm probably a little bit of a hoarder, but they all have such a special meaning, and it's not just a memory, like you've actually got somebody's writing in there. So anyway, this is the final piece. I realized that if you rip off the paper, the sticky tape, really quickly, it takes off part of the black, so I just went over that with a Sharpie and covered it up quite nicely. But yeah, I was really happy with the way that this one turned out.
Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think below, because I was so pleased with the way that this turned out. It was the first time that I'd ever done a painting on black paper for a start. First time I'd used gouache as gouache, and yeah, I actually used metallic paint in there as well, which made the entire picture shimmer, so I thought that was pretty cool. That was an accident, but it turned out really cool. So yeah, let me know what you think of it below, and maybe if you think I should scan it in digitally and try and do it as like a digital photo so I can sell it on my Redbubble shop. If you're interested, let me know and I'll look into doing that. But thank you again for watching, guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye!